live from Los Angeles, California. Welcome to Good Morning LaLa Land. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jez Moyer. Good morning, LaLa Land.
Right, so today we've got a great show in store for you. So if you are ready to claim your birthright of abundance and prosperity, you don't want to miss this show. If you want to debunk and have a fun conversation around cryptocurrency, aka Bitcoin, you don't want to miss the show. And finally, if you're ready to answer the call to fulfill your dreams, you do not want to miss this show right here with these fabulous people.
You had me at crypto, Erin.
Right?
You had me at crypto. And we are so excited because we have a very special interview with a friend of mine, humor engineer, author, entrepreneur, nomad, Drew Tarvin. While he was actually visiting LA, we were able to tape a very special interview with him. We'll show that later in the show.
He's hilarious.
Man after my heart, some comedy in the house.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He puts his humor to work.
See
what I did there? Which is especially
You're taking tips off of him, aren't you?
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried. Usually my jokes aren't funny, but
You
thanks
are
for playing
so
along.
funny. She is the
Yeah,
best
she is,
at
yeah.
like
Spontaneously too.
Oh,
Right?
I
You are.
love when you do that.
And-
Compliment me more. But it's hashtag Wealth Wednesday, and we're so excited because nothing is more important beyond cryptocurrency, obviously, but to lead a very healthy, wealthy lifestyle. And a lot of that includes laughter. So we'll get some
I
tips
like
from
that.
Drew about that.
She's got the inspirational quote of the day over there.
She does. She does.
Tweet me later.
She's got her tweetables up today.
So how you feeling? I'm like full from last night, just so you know. We did
so
go
jealous.
get Catch last night. So if you
So-
watched the show yesterday,
Yesterday, we had Focus TV producer, host Tammy Saffron on the show, and she has a great show called LA Chefs. We featured Catch, some of the interviews she did with Chef Andrew, the owner,
Mark.
and Mark, absolutely. So of course we were tempted at Good Morning LaLa Land to have dinner there, and oh my gosh.
yeah, it was incredible.
One of the best dinners I've had in a long time. We missed you, Rob.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I was just watching the video like yesterday of Tambi, and I was obsessed with just the way the dishes looked. I can't imagine how good they tasted.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Insane.
It's
So
on
jealous.
the roof, and it was like magical. The lights, as soon as you step off on the elevator, it's just like you're in another world.
Right?
Yeah.
It was amazing because it was a little chilly last night, honestly. So they're like, okay, we're going to take you out of your table and we're going outside. I'm thinking, I'm glad I brought my
rooftop.
big jacket, you know. But they had the heaters on, the lights, like it felt like it was warmer than being in a room. They did a really good job.
Well, and
with
that's
that a lot.
one of the things that's so special about this show is that if you're not watching here in Los Angeles, but you are in Cincinnati, Ohio, or Grand Rapids, Michigan, we want to be able to take you to be a part of our community here in LA. So we took you there
Right.
last night to Catch. We've got some great video footage of it. Take a look.
Okay, so I want to tell you guys a little bit about last night. Can I tell them real quick?
Tell them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Jesslyn was amazing last night. This was not, we didn't plan this, we didn't do anything. So we sat down for dinner and the waiter came up. He was just a total sweetheart of a guy. Where was he from again?
Actually, he was from Ohio.
Okay, so, and he
Midwest.
literally, like, he sat there and he was just a sweetheart. And he goes, well, where are you guys from? And, you know, I mean, Andy, our angel here, the producer, is like, oh, you know, we're from New York. Like, he doesn't like to, like, get into the whole, like,
Too much
conversation.
details.
So, and then we're like, yeah, we're not from here. We kind of, like, played a little, you know, thing.
Because
And
we're
so-
not originally from here.
Yeah,
we didn't
right?
lie about
Not
that.
natives.
We didn't mean to be lying. It was just kind of like funny. And then we were like, oh, what if we actually had him on the show? Because every time he'd come to the table, he was the most amazing waiter.
Wow.
And he just teed up the whole restaurant, teed up the menu, teed up everything. And he was a total sweet, genuine guy. So what happened is over the course of the night, we started saying, well, what if we kind of played a little like
Candid camera with it.
camera, right? And
Ah.
invited him on the show. So that's what happened. So watch this right now and you can kind of see a little bit of behind the scenes of what happened last night.
Good evening / good morning, LaLa Land.
We are at Catch in West Hollywood and it is a divine evening in Los Angeles.
From the Doctor of Divinity himself. Let's see.
The menu is broken down into 3 sections. So on the raw bar, the truffle sashimi is our signature. It's 4 pieces of hamachi and 4 pieces of tuna, and it's in a truffle chili ponzu sauce. The other one that I like is the ceviche. That's going to be in a blood orange ponzu sauce, so it's a really nice contrast with the truffle sashimi. As far as the rolls go, the Hellfire roll is my favorite. It's tuna 2 ways with Asian pear inside. And then the catch roll is our signature in that section, and that one's going to be torched at the table. So it's got a nice show along with it. Moving into the hot apps, the Miyazaki Wagyu beef is our signature. It's top of the line Wagyu that we bring in from Japan every week, and it comes out in a hot stone that's cooked tableside. The octopus is my favorite. It's baby Spanish octopus. It's braised for a really long time in pineapple, so it's super, super tender. Finish it off on the grill. Lobster mac and cheese is bomb. And then moving into the entrees, the big fishes are my personal favorite. I love the branzino. It's a nice mild white fish that's roasted. The Cantonese lobster is also delicious. It's flambéed in sake, ginger, garlic, and jalapeno, so it's got a lot of flavor. Finished with some oyster sauce. So yeah, there's this feel for you.
You had me at lobster mac and cheese.
It's branzino in all of Los
I
Angeles.
never know what to do when the whole fish comes to the table. I'm not gonna lie.
We're gonna say a blessing. Thank you, fish. Gorgeous coconut sorbet. This is my dream dessert.
We're part of America's first live streaming daily talk show. It's called Good Morning LaLa Land.
Oh, nice.
And this morning we featured this restaurant and the owner and the chef on the show. And we wanted to come here and celebrate our show. And we're so special, so we want to invite you to be a part of it.
I would love to be a part of it. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you.
Oh my gosh, so
It's beautiful.
fun, right?
Yeah.
It was such a magical evening. We're so excited to have Zach in the studio tomorrow. What's so special about LA and the community is that so many of the servers are entertainers. Not only are they entertainers, but they are like funding their dreams and their passions in the community by giving back, one, to create memorable experiences for people like us, but 2, to fund their dreams. That's a really beautiful thing, and something we want to celebrate, especially for you, Zach. And
Right.
you know all you're
He's a
doing.
hustler. Zach's a hustler.
But I think that's what people don't understand, and that's one of the intentions of the show, is showcasing that this is the land of dreams, and not everybody makes it, but this is the incredible aspect of the community. People come from all over the world to come fulfill their dreams here, and some people think they're delusional, right?
Yeah.
Like New Yorkers, a lot are like, you guys are crazy out there in La La Land, right? But this is why we love LA.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was you, Rob, last week that said you have to have a little bit of delusion.
A little bit, right?
be happy.
Yeah, I remember this very interesting video. I think it was Will Smith. It was an interview, and he basically said, like, you know, if you're not pursuing something that's unrealistic, you need to get a bigger dream. And I've always felt that way. Like, it should be unrealistic. It should feel a little bit out of reach.
Right.
Because if not, how do you feel inspired by it?
That's so funny because so many people from where I'm from in Michigan, they'll ask me when they see me for the holiday, when are you going to get real?
Gotta get a real job.
Yeah, when are you going to get a real job? And
Yeah.
I think, well, this is real. This is my reality. Even though it might seem far-fetched to you,
Right.
maybe I'm a little delusional, but it makes me happy.
Well, I think that's a huge point. That's a huge point. And like whether you live in LA or anywhere else, if you're not doing something that you love, or you're not loving what you're doing, I don't know how you can continue doing it every day.
I don't
It's
either,
mind-blowing to me. I
honestly.
mean, I tried it for so long, and it just didn't work for me.
Right.
Yeah, so I love seeing stories like that.
So we missed you last night, by
yeah.
the way.
Yeah, trust me, I missed you more. I missed you more, yeah. That was amazing. Gosh, Branzino? Is that Branzino?
Right? Yeah.
That was the Branzino. We'll take you back for
Wow.
that.
We'll have
I
to
owe
come
you a
back.
birthday dinner anyway, Rob.
For
so.
Oh my gosh.
So is everything okay?
Yeah. So my
good.
mom's a little sick. She's doing better now, though. But she never
We
gets
want to
sick.
give you
Mama
a shout out.
Yes.
We love you, Mom. We
Yeah.
hope you're feeling better for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, she's a trooper. I mean, when you think about moms, you know, they dedicate their entire lives to taking care of you. So when they get sick, it's
Well,
like
the good moms do it.
The good moms, anyway. Yeah.
I've got it better. I'm a little bit of a narcissist mom. No.
That's all right.
No.
We've all got a lot of that in us. It's fine.
It's
Absolutely.
the dance between the
Yeah.
career, the child, the
Yeah.
this, the that, right?
Yeah, but Catch LA, I gotta check it out.
Right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a bit of a, we had an earlier dinner. We left probably like almost 10 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
at night, and it was getting packed in there. It was like the catch was actually starting to happen.
yep.
I think people were
It's
like,
trendy.
they were reeling in their catch over at the bar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where they got the name?
Oh, I have no idea, but it works. It sounds real good, Erin. Just go with it. Just
That's
go.
right, exactly.
All right. So we've got quite a show. I'm very excited about today because we asked actually Zach at the end of the night, we asked him 2 questions. One, we asked him if he knew what cryptocurrency was, and he said, no. And I said, what about Bitcoin? He goes, well, yeah, everyone's talking.
Everybody's talking about Bitcoin.
Right?
Yeah.
So today we want to talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because it's such a trending topic in Los Angeles and everywhere, and it ties in with Wealth Wednesday. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of debunk it, kind of hack it. And then also I've got a great book called Primal Branding that's all about, and I want to kind of talk about how, in my opinion, Bitcoin is one of the greatest brands out there. So when we come back, you guys, we're going to talk about Wealth Wednesday, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and the greatest brand possibly ever invented.
And
So
we're
stay
going to
tuned.
get some laughs with Drew Tarvin.
Stay tuned. Okay, Instagram, we're on break. You're behind the scenes right now.
And I'm Jasmine Royer. Monday through Friday, we are going to be streaming to you live, Los Angeles.
America's first live streaming daily talk show.
At 9 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And we have a sexy show for you today.
We have got Will, Leanne, and Gabe in the house. Let's go back there. Hi!
Talked to 4 beautiful, intelligent, conscious women. Clearly, I was miserable the entire time.
She has a TV show similar to your guys.
Ellen.
Yes!
Yes!
The little peck. Come on.
I feel so bad for Jess.
We're live for the people viewing.
For the people.
Wow!
MICKEYMOUSC Club Mickey Mouse on Good Morning La La Land.
We are streaming to you live Monday through Friday on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Happy holidays.
It's going to be a good
Morning, La La Land.
5, 6, 7, 8. We are the Mouseketeers, and we proudly wear our ears. We mousin', we mousin', MICKEYMOUSC Club Mickey Mouse. Good morning, La La Land.
Welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. We're so excited you tuned in. We are streaming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and now on Periscope.
Right? Which is Twitter. So you can go on either Twitter or Periscope, I believe. And it's Good Morning La La Land on both of them.
Absolutely. Like, share, comment. We're trying our best to connect and engage with you live as we go. So special shout out. Good morning, John Woodruff. And good morning, Trey Jean. I wanted to give a little
Trey killing it.
Nice,
yeah,
right?
once again, the little top by one of my favorite fashion houses,
Nice.
Trey Jean. Thanks for supporting us.
Okay, so today, you guys, Wealth Wednesday, let's dive into this. So we're going to talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and what do you guys think? Have you guys been, it's like all your friends into this like mine are?
It's crazy. It's like the hottest word right now,
Right.
cryptocurrency. Well, actually, Bitcoin is hotter than cryptocurrency,
For sure,
apparently.
for sure.
Right? It's mind-blowing to me because I remember hearing stirrings of it like years ago, but I didn't really pay any attention. I'm like, that sounds weird. It sounds like alternative currency,
Right.
or digital currency. I don't know exactly what it is, but it sounded kind of cool.
The other day, I actually had an Uber, and I think the driver was hitting on me by telling me about his investment in cryptocurrency. And I was like, are you trying to pick me up with crypto?
Yeah.
Right now?
Not a yacht. It's crypto now. Yeah.
Totally. So let's, first of all, what is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? And it's something that I've been trying to get my head around. And it's really hard to understand. But from what I understand, it is a blockchain, like behind the scenes. It's basically a mathematical equation that supposedly there's only 21 21 million, is that correct? Yeah, 21 million Bitcoins. And there's only been something like 16.5 million that have been mined. And so I don't really understand what they are, but because we're not financial advisors, we're not any of that, but we're having the conversation.
Yeah.
Because all of Los Angeles is having
Right?
this conversation
Yes.
right now.
But this is the thing, is that if this is what it is, and it started in 2008, I believe, and supposedly it was a facetious, person that started it all, and now people think that it is like the wave of the new future. Like we're no longer going to have centralized banking. It's going to be a free world around.
Well, and currency won't be strictly, geographically based. Now it's based on the internet, which is something millennials can actually understand and wrap their head around. And it seems like it's making investing in stocks actually approachable, accessible. You can download an app, and people are making so much money. $10 in Bitcoin 7 years ago is now worth $7.5 million.
What?
Right?
Here's $10. I would like
What?
a Bitcoin, please.
Wow.
Well, okay, so
That's astonishing.
we've had some intense conversations about it, and I mean, look, the reality is this: is that even the dollar, the American dollar, it's an illusion.
Right.
It's not backed by even gold anymore.
Right.
So a Bitcoin, the dollar, what's a bubble and what isn't a bubble? They all could be bubbles as far as I'm concerned. But gambling is still gambling as far as I'm concerned too, right?
And it's certainly a form of gambling. like
It
any
kind
other.
of seems like a good gamble, though. I'm not going to lie. It's a little tempting. I've never been tempted to put my money in stocks because I don't have very much money. I'm on a very strict budget. But the thought of paying $10 and now having $7.5 million, woo, that sounds good.
amazing. Yeah.
Okay,
That
so
sounds good.
but this is the thing. If we know that there's 21 million total Bitcoins, that's great. But now there's all these other ones popping up. We've got Ethereum. We've got Bitcoin
Litecoin,
Cash.
Zcash, Dash, Ripple. I mean, just the
So-
names. And it's funny because people can just create these coins. They can create cryptos. We at Good Morning LaLa Land could create
Right?
a cryptocurrency.
Wow. Good
Download a
morning, LaLa
software
Land.
and create your own coin. So I'm gonna have to take the stand and look. Reality is that we don't know the future, and yes, you can go to Vegas and you can go red or black, right? So is it going to become the next currency? Who knows? But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say right here on public live,
you?
I'm going
Go
to
out
say
that ledge,
that it's
yeah.
going to be something we're going to look back on,
Yeah.
like the .com bubble that burst in 1999, and we're going to go, oh yeah, that was
fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun roller coaster ride.
Okay, but Erin, earlyinvesting.com just said that $100 in Ethereum 2 years ago is now worth $66,290.
Yeah, but
in less than
this
2
is the thing. But
years.
this is the thing. You have to understand. Number one, majority of people that go invest in a Bitcoin or whatever, if they've held, majority of people will buy and sell multiple times, and the majority of people will lose. They will lose because they don't have the technology that the big boys have behind the scenes of this.
But there's an app called Coinbase. and there's a wallet right on my phone that attaches right to my Bank of America account. And it doesn't seem like it's something you can really lose on.
Right, and that was the right. So that's what makes Bitcoin so incredible, right? Because before it was like, if you trade in physical, like apples, for instance, a physical apple. If I give you an apple, I have 0, now you have 1. It's easy when it's like physical currency. But when it's like virtual currency, the difficulty is like if I give you 1 virtual apple, I could have made copies of that apple digitally and gave them out to the whole world.
Right.
So so what made Bitcoin so cool is they were able to create a ledger that's so it tracks all of this, right? That to me, in and of itself, is mind blowing.
It's really
Right?
incredible. And
Yeah.
so the reason why I wanted to talk about this book
Yeah.
with Bitcoin is because, first of all, if you guys don't know this book, it's called Primal Branding. And I believe that Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency is the greatest branding ever done, okay? So this book, just to give it, why would this book matter? Number one is that all of YouTube, first of all, Patrick Hanlon he's one of the greatest branders in the world, and he basically was saying, I've got to debunk what branding is. So he broke it down to 7 distinctions of branding.
Oh.
So YouTube believes so highly in this that if you are a YouTuber, if you're in their entire community, it's required reading, okay? So the reason why I want to go through this and Bitcoin is because there's 7 distinctions of this, okay? So number one is the greatest biggest brands of all have a creation story. Now, the creation story of Bitcoin is that I'm reading here. Bitcoin was invented by an unknown person or group of people under the name of Satoshi Nakamoto and released open source software in 2009. Bitcoins are created and rewarded for a process known as mining. So this is the greatest creation story. Some
Sounds
person that
like
we
something to me.
don't know of in the world. So, that's the creation story. Number 2 of branding is the creed. The creed is, let's get it straight for the creed.
It's the creed.
Fuck the man. That's the creed of Bitcoin,
creed.
right?
Oh.
I mean, I
It's true.
know, I didn't read that
Right.
anywhere. I'm just looking at it from an outside perspective. It's saying that we, the people, must prevail outside of the centralized banking system, become hack free, right? So that's basically the
So
creed.
it's like the Wikipedia of digital currency.
It's, well, I
Right?
mean, think about
It's
it.
the
So
same-
a great brand
So
is like a great, like a soccer team. You either root for it or you're against it. There's a creed around it. There's a story around it. It's rising of your community.
Everybody's rooting for crypto.
Right?
Everyone owns it. Yeah.
That everyone owns it, right? Okay, so number 3 is has an icon. So we know that Bitcoin has that B that's shaped like a dollar bill,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Great icon.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it. You don't have to know anything. You just see the B and the dollar sign, and
Okay.
you're like, okay. Number 4 is the rituals.
Okay.
So what's a ritual, right? They're on trading every day. They're talking about it. They're
It's beginning to sound like something to me. I'm
What?
gonna let it fit.
What?
It's beginning to sound like a religion, isn't it?
right.
It's what religion has done extremely well.
He
if you think
said
about
it, not me. Okay,
is.
right?
No, but it's really interesting because I see memes about it. People are doing Instagram stories about it. They're tweeting about it. It is in my face 24/7.
Wow.
Taste
See?
this.
So you're
Even in
and
my Uber.
So they're like, come over here,
Yeah.
Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is you're either a believer or a non-believer, right? So you're either like 100% in, like I've never heard people preach so
Yeah.
much like
Yeah.
for Bitcoin, or you're like, oh, that's gonna fail and da 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 da, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be one or the other though, because you can be a skeptic. Right? A believer, non-believer, but what
Like
about the
agnostic?
skeptics?
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what people. But you're either look. Your reality is you've either invested or you haven't.
That's a good point.
Well, for $10 and now being a millionaire, nobody's apologizing for
Hindsight
investing
is
here. Right?
2020, isn't it?
Okay, so number 6 of branding, great branding is it has to have its own sacred words or language, right? So this is like for Bitcoin, it's like there's blockchain, they're mining, network nodes, distributed ledger. These are all like language that you don't know unless you are interested in Bitcoin, right?
This is seriously how to create a religion 101.
Right?
It really
It's
is.
the same,
It's
right?
the same thing.
Okay, and then number 7 is the leader. So who is the leader of Bitcoin, right? So there's been articles of people in Australia and things that have come out, but the reality is that there is no leader. We, the people, are the leader.
There's a leader, they just have a mascot. They're quietly sitting there with their billions and billions and billions of dollars laughing at the rest of us.
Right?
So there's a pope of Bitcoin somewhere out there.
So this
That's
is,
pulling
where,
strings.
this is where I want to call people out, because I have so many friends, and don't get me wrong, I think that if you want to take a percentage of your money and put it into something that's, you don't know, you're gambling on the potential of this becoming big.
Yeah.
Get it, no problem. As long as that person has other things they've got going on. Like
Yeah.
if they're banking that this is going to be their future
Yeah.
of like what their wealth.
Well, it's like anything, right? I mean, I don't know much, but the one thing I've always been told is, sort of maintain a diversified portfolio.
Totally, right?
I mean, that's just true in all areas of your life. So I agree with
Yeah.
you there. It's
What do you
something
think?
Maintain a diversified portfolio. That'd be great if I had a portfolio. I mean, let's be honest. I'm trying to figure out a monthly budget for myself,
No,
let
totally.
alone a
Totally get that.
portfolio
Yeah.
retirement. But if anyone wants to gift a Bitcoin,
You're in.
gift a Ripple, I will gladly take that gamble for
Oh
you.
my gosh. You
We'll see
watch.
what happens.
You're hear nothing but DM alerts going off right now on Justin's account.
I'm so fine with
Bitcoin.
that. No, it was funny because in the news today, I read this big article about Kanye West gifting stocks to Kim Kardashian. So he gifted her Netflix, Amazon, Adidas. And I really, it resonated with me for some
Yeah.
reason because I was like, wow, somebody's gifting an investment. Not that they actually need that, but
Right.
that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
So interesting. And then now there's Bitcoin Cash, which has been, I think it was just like in this last week where I would be so pissed. I'm sorry, but if I was an owner of Bitcoin and then all of a sudden they decide, oh, you know what, guess what? We made a new coin. It's called Bitcoin Cash. And this one actually can use as currency 10 times as great as Bitcoin. I'd be like,
Wow. Yeah.
what the F?
See, that's the thing. They can make all these adjustments, right? And then you can earn rewards too, right? Or they give you gifts, like
Yeah.
on top of the. That's
Dividends.
why.
Okay,
they
so this
call
is my
them.
prediction because we have to wrap this up. And look, I'm all about potential. Obviously, as a doctor of divinity, I know potential. And look, the reality is that it may, whatever become the next currency. Great if it does. But I am here to say that I highly doubt it because I believe that we're in a time of ethics spiritually, and I believe there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes kind of manipulation, in my opinion. And so I believe that it will be taken down. It will be exposed that there will be internal training, there will be messed up things, and I believe that it's going to become something that's going to kind of slam down on his face.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
Can I have
and
your
maybe
Bitcoin?
not.
Can I have it? Every time, you
there
just
you
give it to
go.
me.
There you have it.
I
So-
feel you on that. Yeah.
So, do you want to take us out?
Yes. So when we come back, we have our very special guest, an interview with Drew Tarvin, author of 50 States of Laughter. He's performed in all 50 states for over 50,000 people across the world. Good friend of mine, humor engineer.
Yeah.
Humor engineer.
That wasn't a joke. That was just,
Yeah, it's okay.
see what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not
it's okay.
funny.
No, you're funny.
We're going to work on that with Drew when we come back. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I'm Eden Sassoon, and I own 2 Pilates studios, Eden by Eden Sassoon Pilates. And to be quite honest, I hate socks. But my girlfriend Sally just created a line, Mantra Socks. And to me, at Pilates, you cannot get on my machine without socks. But now, you can get on my machine with the intention. Today, I have Be Love. To me, that means a lot. But also, when you buy a pair of these socks, 1 pair gets donated to a homeless shelter. And that is something, that's really what matters, to be quite honest. It's not just about the sock. It's about the intention. It's about what you're giving back and how you're paying it forward. And so for that, Sally, I thank you. And I love Mantra Socks.
Hi guys, I'm Joyce Gerard and I support my beautiful friend Sally with her mantra socks. Look how cute they are. Be Loved is my favorite. So go get them. Run and get them on Amazon.com.
Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa Land. Andrew Tarvin is in the house, and I'm so excited to hear all about your book. He has a great story. Left his apartment in New York City 2 years ago with carrying on bags across the United States, traveled 50 states and gathered 50 stories. And here he is today to give us the lowdown.
Yeah, hello.
Thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
The world's first humor engineer. Here we go. Here we go.
Making it happen.
Making it happen.
Did you guys work that out before?
No, we're not cool
Amazing.
enough to even try and make
No,
it
that was just
happen.
in the moment. Yeah.
That's what it is to be a humor engineer.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's a big part
So
of it.
50 states, you're in LaLa Land. We
Mhm.
want to hear tell us about this.
Yeah, what inspired this story?
Yeah, so the inspiration for the book called The United States of Laughter is I was 31 years old, living in New York City. I was traveling a lot for work and decided, what happens if I don't actually have a home, right? So I put all my stuff in storage, thought I'd do it for 2 months. turned into 18 months, traveled 159,000 miles, which is about 6 trips around the globe equivalent. Spoke or performed in all 50 states, 14 countries, and on 3 continents. And what I realized is in the first 12 months, I went to all 50 states, and I had experienced so many cool journeys that I was like, I want to tell these stories of what I've picked up, and not just the big places, certainly LA, but then also the small places across the country. And so that's where the book comes from. It's a story from each state talking about my journey.
So were you just like, you came into the town and you were like, where's the nearest stand-up? Or like, where did you go speak?
Yeah, so it was in different spots all across, depending on what state I was in. So for example, I was in South Dakota. The only place that I could find in South Dakota to perform was a biker bar in Pringle, South Dakota. Pringle, yeah, population 112 people. And so me and my brother, who was with me at the time, we drive up, and it is at a biker bar, and it's like Harley Davidson, and like one regular bicycle for some reason.
Yeah, were you on a Harley Davidson?
I was not. We were in some rental Ford Focus or something. Yeah, exactly. Someone pedaled someone that didn't get a Harley yet. You got a pedal there, right? Yeah, pedicab coming up or something. But there's a guy sitting on the porch with a gun on his knee, and we're like, we have no idea what to expect.
Seems comfortable.
Right, exactly. Right?
That's why I want to go speak.
But we go in and meet incredibly nice people. So like I perform, and a woman comes up to me afterwards, short black hair, 2 neck tattoos, a few missing teeth, no idea what she's gonna say. And she's like, I don't know who you are, but I'm your newest fan.
Wow. That is no small feat.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's just one of the cool things that I experienced, and the reason why it's called the United States of Laughter is that I realized, despite what we see on the news about how we're always kind of at odds with each other, there's still one thing that does unite all Americans, and that's laughter.
Wow. So true. We've been trying to incorporate more on the show. I'm actually taking an impromptu course over at the Groundlings, which is one of the supposedly one of the best impromptu schools, because I know that laughter is like key to connecting with people, and I got to bring it on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you're doing Groundlings. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, right?
From you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that you kind of talk about preconceptions and walking into these places. And I read, being a Michigan girl, page 115 of this book, and your experience in Michigan. And I had to laugh because, well, you tell the story, and then you're funnier than me.
Right. Well, yeah, so Michigan is the worst, right? That's the title. That's the title of the book.
I didn't even want to say the title because
I know.
Being a Michigan girl, I definitely have to disagree with you on that.
Right, but here's the thing. I grew up in Ohio, right? Born and raised, and so Ohio State Michigan rivalry. But also my beef with people from Michigan, and Jasmine, you probably do this, is whenever you ask someone where they're from in Michigan, they love the fact that their state is shaped like a hand. They're like, oh, this is Michigan. I'm from right, like no other state
Let me
does
just
that.
point it out.
Right.
I'm from
Yeah.
right
He's right there.
here.
But see, when you ask me where I'm from in Ohio,
Yeah.
I don't make like a makeshift Ohio.
Yeah.
I'm not like.
Well, you should give people a better geographical understanding of where you're from.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
but
Wow.
like Italians aren't like, well, if Italy is a boot, I'm a from there, right?
In
That's
LA,
what happens.
we're like, well, I live off the 405.
Yeah,
and
it's
then we
all
go
highway
down
related.
the-
Yeah, the street. So it's like, I'm from LA. Is that what LA looks like? I don't even know.
Yeah.
No one knows what it
So
looks like.
true.
It's funny because also people from Michigan have this like hatred for people from Ohio simply because of the sports teams.
Mhm.
I know when I go and visit Ohio, I tell people I'm from Indiana. Because if you say you're from Michigan, you're already like, ooh, on the outs.
Yeah, and so that was my kind of understanding going to Michigan. And so then I ended up having a fantastic time in Michigan, and I hated it. Right, because I want to keep the stereotype in my head that I hate Michigan, and so I go and I visit a friend, and we go to a park on a beautiful 80-degree day, and in this park there's one of those big slides that you can go down when like a burlap sack, and I'm like, the whole time I'm up at the top, I'm like, all right, just please let me like knock out a kid or like break a bone or something.
I gotta hate this
I got
place.
to justify
The Buckeyes won't
hating
like you.
Michigan,
Yeah.
right? They
But
don't like
you
me.
can't hate Michigan because we're so nice.
So nice. And so that was, it was kind of a microcosm of what I believe travel can do, is that it changed my perception,
Oh, I
right?
love that.
When we only have the stereotype view of people based on pop culture, what other people tell us, we have one view. When we go there and actually experience, it's like, oh, that is different, right? And that's what made Michigan even worse, is that it added a learning lesson to my life. And I'm like,
But what about you being from New York and now being here in California? There's a lot of juxtapositions there too,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I love LA. I love coming to LA. I've had fantastic experiences here, hiking up to Griffith Park. I do love In and Out.
Some good content around here for
Yeah,
humor. for
absolutely.
sure.
Lots of content, interesting people that you meet. But I also love New York. And I joke, I was like, I'll move to LA potentially when self-driving cars are a thing.
Right.
Right, when I don't have to deal with traffic.
So true.
So we want to know like some tips today. I want to know like how can we get more? How can we bring impromptu into the show?
Yeah,
Give
how
us
do you
some
add
tips.
impromptu to your life?
Right.
Yeah,
how do you
absolutely.
make it
Well,
funnier?
so that's what I do for a living. Is now I have a degree in computer science and engineering, and I've always been an engineer and very much a nerd. And then I started doing improv and stand up in college, and that taught me human skills, right? Because I've always been good with computers, not so good with people, because people have emotions and feelings,
I know, they're
right?
messy. People are
Right?
messy.
Yeah, they're not
No.
efficient
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But turns out that humor is effective with people. And so I started to explore that intersection of humor in the workplace, improv in business. And that's what allowed me to travel, was doing all of this. That's what I do for a living, is I talk and work with organizations on that. And I teach people because I believe humor is a skill.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's a skill, it can be learned. And I'm someone who's had to learn how to
So give us some
comedy.
tips. Somebody's watching right now. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, great story. What's in it for me? Like what can we tell them
How
today?
can I be
Yeah,
funnier?
how can you be
Because I
funnier?
want to meet more
Exactly.
women.
Exactly. You want to be funny
That's
or become
basically-
Twitter or get paid more,
Right,
whatever it is.
exactly,
Right?
yes,
yeah.
love,
So
yeah.
the first thing that I say is, the first thing is share your perspective or your point of view a little bit more, right? If you think about very good stand-up comedians, whether it's Ellen or Chris Rock
They
or
all
Dave
have
Chappelle, they all have a very specific way of seeing the world, and they share that
Oh, yeah.
with people. So for example, do any of you have any irrational fears?
No, not at all. I've never been afraid of anything.
Yeah, all of my fears are very rational.
Exactly. They're all
I'm weirdly-
perfectly.
Yeah, I'm weirdly afraid of going down an escalator if it's not moving. So I get so nervous
Oh,
to walk
yeah.
down the steps of an escalator if it's not moving, like knees shaking. I don't know. I just feel like it's going to start and then I'm going to shoot off the thing and fall down.
Right, and then you're gonna get grinded up down
Yeah,
at the bottom,
like,
because those are
grinded down.
basically teeth at the bottom, right?
Basically, I've lost a shoe to an escalator before and now I am terrified.
Right? Yeah. Right. So you can take things and ideas like this, a different way of seeing the world, and then share that. So for example, I have an irrational fear that I'm gonna die by sneezing. Not that a sneeze itself is gonna kill me, but I'm gonna be driving along the road and I'm gonna sneeze, hit my head on the steering wheel, fall off into a ravine, right?
Yeah,
So we start by sharing our perspective, our point of view a little bit more, and then from that we can explore and heighten, right? So that's what we learn in improvisation, is how to accept and build, or say yes and. We can say, if this is true, what else is true? So for example, for me, it took me going to the state of Florida
Yeah.
to realize the rapper Flo Rida
Yeah.
got his name from
Yeah.
his home state of Florida, and he put a space in it.
Yep.
Right? That blew my mind.
That
I don't know if you
blows my
guys
mind
knew
right
that.
now.
That blew my
I don't
mind.
get it.
Yeah. Flo Rida.
Florida.
Oh,
Space in it,
okay.
Flo Rida,
Oh,
right? He
wow.
got his
Yeah.
name, Flo Rida.
Yeah.
So in comedy, we can say, if this is true, what else is true? We can say, all right, if it's true that you can create a brand name by putting a space in it, what else could be true? I feel like other places should do that, right? I think there should be a Hispanic travel agency in Dover called Delaware. Right? Or there could be a female internet detective in Biloxi who's married, who goes by Mrs. IPPI.
Okay, I
Right?
like
If
it.
this is
Just playing
true,
words.
yeah, exactly. If this is true, what else is true? Take one concept and then build it. And then the last step is practice and repetition, right? We get better through practice and repetition, right? That's true
Right.
for anything. I don't know if have you guys ever experienced where you're in a meeting, you're in a conversation, or meeting someone, and then a couple hours later you're like, I should have said this.
That
Oh my
happens
God,
every
all the
single
time.
day.
Every single day on the show, I rewatch it and I was like, oh, where was I on this one?
Yeah, I could have said that. That's actually
Yeah.
a good thing. It's something called staircase wit. The idea you're in a meeting and then later in the stairway you think of it. But what it means is that you have the comedic instinct, and then through practice and repetition, what you do is you take that ha-ha moment, realization happening 4 hours later, to only 3 hours later, to only 2 hours later, to only 10 minutes, to then happening in the moment. Right? And that's why we say that reflection on the past leads to action in the future.
So it's like a muscle.
It's
If we have to constantly be thinking and you train your mind.
Yeah, you train your mind. You create kind of a humor's kind of point of view or perspective on the world. In some ways, I think about it we say that, an optimist sees the glass as half full, pessimist sees the glass as half empty, An engineer says that the glass is twice as big as it needs to be.
Right.
Right? But a humorist says, whether it's half full or half empty, I know that if I add just a little bit of sugar, that could be Kool-Aid. Right? It's just about changing your perspective
Wow.
a little bit about what you're doing.
As you're talking, I'm discovering like probably the biggest lesson learned from this conversation, and that is simply just to bring him along with you to
Yeah,
parties,
that would be
so you can be
better.
funny and I can take credit.
Well, and that's the beauty
That's
of like
awesome.
that's what you learn in
Right.
improv
Yeah.
is how to yes and build off of each other and set something up. And so it's not always about being the funny one yourself, but setting
Teaming
someone
up.
else for that
Well, and
success.
it's important to note though too that he wasn't always funny. You know, we mentioned
Mm-hmm.
earlier it's something that he learned he taught himself. And one of the most
Thank
interesting
goodness.
yeah,
I know.
one of the most interesting things that I know personally about Drew is he is one of the most analytical people I have ever met.
You
He is-
engineers are all like that.
Oh,
They
yeah.
know go
He's got
find.
a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet for everything, even down to laughs per minute of what works
Yeah,
and
that's
the
amazing.
science behind the
Wow.
joke.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's I
I
think
gotta read it.
yeah, I think
gotta
that's
read it.
partially what has allowed me to be a trainer of this is that in a way I've kind of reverse engineered comedy and kind of looked at what works and what doesn't because you know like I said I've done over 1,000 shows and stand up improv all that kind of thing. I've done all 50 states and I recently went to my high school reunion and when people found out that I did comedy they're like but you're not funny,
Right.
right? Because like growing up, I was never the life of the
So
party of the
funny,
class clown. My senior superlative was I was voted teacher's pet.
Wow. So I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
say someone's watching right now
Mhm.
and they want to develop the skill, whether they're a comedian or they just say, you know what, I just want to have more fun in my life.
Yeah.
I know you've probably been to LA a few times, so you must know some places.
Yeah.
What can they do in LA specifically?
Well, I think improv is a great place to start. That's how I got started. I went to school at the Ohio State University, got a degree in computer science and engineering, but my best friend there wanted to start an improv group. He needed people and forced me to join. And so I got into it through improvisation. I think that's a great way for people to do that. So I think Groundling certainly is
for
one.
sure.
UCB, IO West is out here. Comedy Sports is great for short form improv. There's plenty of opportunities, and it's all just about that practice and
But
repetition.
I'm really curious for you personally, as a person who wasn't funny, what did you like about improv? Because that wasn't a natural transition for
Right.
you, I wouldn't think.
No, well, what's beautiful about improv is, and taking these types of classes, is that it creates a safe space. Because if you think about trying to be funny, and it's like, oh, I want to go and do stand up, to a lot of people, that's very intimidating. Whereas in improv classes, you're in a smaller group with a group of people who are all trying to do the same thing, and there's no one like Instagram living that or anything like that. If you mess something up, if you say something weird, if it's not funny at all, no one sees, right? It's done, you're over with it. And so it's just about creating that safe space. And that's what my programs are as well, is to create people and give people an opportunity to practice this skill in a safe environment so that later when they're applying it, whether it's in an interview to try to get a job or to manage their own stress at work or to try to impress someone at the bar, then they're comfortable because they've already had the practice and reps of it.
Love that. I had a question. Yeah. So you've had this incredible success. You wrote this just really interesting book about being a human engineer and your travels across the United States. And I wonder, at any point in time, did you ever, go someplace and have had an act or a performance, and it just felt completely flat and it didn't work at all?
Yeah, so I was it's not in the book, but during my nomadic travels, I went to Singapore for some work and saw that there was a stand-up show in Malaysia. So I was like, all right, let me go to Malaysia and do stand-up. And I did terribly. I bombed like I haven't bombed in a long time. And part of me was like, you know what, maybe it was my first time doing stand-up in an Asian country. I was like, maybe that just culturally people, they don't laugh that much and maybe it's more reserved. And then the guy got up after me and he crushed it. He nailed it.
No.
He was like one of the funniest people like I've ever seen. And his funniest joke was him making fun of me.
Oh no, that's the part.
Did you
Yeah.
It was like,
It felt great, right?
yeah, it felt fantastic. I was like, I gotta keep doing.
Give me more of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
but what I made the mistake of assuming material that works in Europe would work in Asia. I didn't
yeah,
understand
right.
my audience, and one of the things about humor is that's really important is understanding who your audience is, what they know, what they need, what they expect, and your relationship to them. Like how are you
That's such a great point.
perceived?
So speaking of that exact thing, we want to do a segment called That's So LA, which is really speaking to the audience of Los Angeles. So I was wondering maybe you could take us through an exercise. What would that look like if you're going, okay, I'm going to teach you guys how to do some improv. Let's brainstorm on That's So LA.
Well, yeah. So interestingly, we're in our first few days of production. We're still trying to figure out what our dynamic is and what we can contribute and deal with our community in Los Angeles. So
Yeah.
There's something.
Well, and I think so. That's so LA is based on observational humor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I train on is that there's various tools and shortcuts that humorists use to create comedy. Things like association, right, which is comparing two things unique together. Things like
Yeah, like New
incongruity.
York versus LA,
Right.
dating and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can do kind of a that's so LA of like in comparison to other places,
Yeah.
right? That's so LA versus New York. That's so LA versus Chicago, right? There can be a lot of interesting juxtapositions there, or just observational humor. Like, what are the things that, breathe LA? So traffic is certainly one of them. So what are the
Gymnastics,
activities?
yoga,
Yeah.
stuff and repeats.
Yeah, and specifically, what is the approach to it? So I would be curious from you guys. If you're sitting in traffic, what's your strategy?
Split lanes.
Split
As
lanes,
fast
on your
as I
bike?
possibly can.
On your bike,
Yes. Split lanes. Do not look side to side so that people don't get mad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so here's
Share
the
their
thing.
anger
So
with
the story from Massachusetts is called scientifically justified road rage, because there's a lot of ways that people drive that actually aren't the most efficient ways to drive. Like, so for example, if you're driving down the highway and you see one of those like left lane close merge,
Yes.
it's actually scientifically more efficient for everyone if you stay in that lane until you have to get over, right? But instead, people start to get over and you cause this big, traffic jam. And so it's like understanding that we as humans are terrible drivers, which is why I look forward to the self-driving revolution, because then we don't have to deal with it, right? So I think understanding your approach. What's your approach in traffic?
Mine is like, let me see how much education I can get done while I'm in the hour traffic. So I turn on like a YouTube educational thing I want to hear. I make the call that I want to, I do like how can I make this the best use of time?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that might be so LA is that your most productive time is sitting in traffic.
Yeah, totally.
Right? It's so LA that your car is more productive than your office place.
Yeah, that's
Right?
awesome.
That's an LA thing. See?
Right.
So you can explore those observations. And again, it comes from sharing that point of view. What do you
Right.
do? What's your traffic strategy?
This is terrible. I get ready. So between here and there, in my car, I have this little Fiat. I have got probably 4 pairs of shoes. I've got a closet
She's
full
like
of clothes. And
rinsing her
yeah,
arms.
no, I've got exactly. I made a little YouTube video about it. Got the deodorant. I'll put on my makeup because not while I'm driving, but there's a lot of stop and there's a lot of pause. So I'm totally getting myself
Right.
ready to go.
Right.
So if not for traffic, you would look terrible everywhere you went.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's a benefit of so LA, right? It's so LA.
Absolutely.
So we don't have much more time.
Mhm.
But first, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. But what do you think? Last tips for people in LA. What do? I go out to name those places real quick again.
Yeah, so UCB, Groundlings, Comedy Sports, IO West are all great, fantastic places. Certainly go and experience comedy a little bit more. You kind of can learn through a little bit through osmosis. But the biggest thing that I talk about in all of my programs is that, positivity, humor, all these things ultimately come down to a choice, right? You decide every single day about how you're going to approach your work or how you're going to approach life. And so in the context of work, what I talk about is like, no one can control how you think. Even if you're in an environment where you don't think that you have the skill set or you don't think that it's welcome, no one can control how you're thinking about things. No one can prevent you from listening to a comedy podcast while you're stuck in traffic as a way to relieve stress. Or one of the things that I do when I'm going through emails is I start to read each of the different emails in a different accent in my head. Right? And,
Are there good podcasts or newsletters or things that you recommend for people?
I mean,
The
there's
book,
tons of them.
The
Check-
United States of Laughter, right
Right?
here.
Yeah, there is an audiobook version of this. So if you want me to read you stories in the car, because I read it, pick up the audiobook. And there's tremendous amounts. There's comedy just about anything. But certainly if people want to learn more, find out more, get personal recommendations, happy to make those. They can just kind of reach out and happy to share those. But just find the things that you like, right?
And where can they find you online?
So you can find me, Drew Tarvin, on social media, whether that's Instagram. I tweet puns like pretty much every day. That's I love wordplay. So if you want puns, at Drew Tarvin. Same thing on Facebook, or you can find out more at andrewtarvin.com.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to have to definitely hit you up on giving some feedback as I get into my improv. So you can find his book, The United States of Laughter. And so looking forward to it. Anything else
Yeah.
to say?
No, thank you just
Yeah,
so much for the
absolutely.
laughs. Let's do that handshake again.
Yes.
We're
Boom, we'll
out.
explode it. There
Can't
we
even
go.
follow that up, man.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Here we go. Yeah.
Oh,
Here we go. Here we go. Nice.
Yeah,
Well
exactly.
done. Well done.
Very
Thank
professional.
you so
Very
much for
professional.
making us laugh this morning. We
Thank you
really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
it.
for
Good morning, La La Land. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jasmine Royer. Monday through Friday, we are going to be streaming to you live, Los Angeles.
America's first live streaming daily talk show.
At 9 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And we have a sexy show for you today.
We have got Will, Leanne, and Gabe in the house. Let's go back there. Hi!
Talked to 4 beautiful, intelligent, conscious women. Clearly, I was miserable the entire time.
She has a TV show similar to your guys.
Ellen.
Yes!
Yes!
The little peck. Come on.
I feel so bad for Jess.
We're live for the people viewing.
For the people.
Wow!
MICKEYMOUSC Club Mickey Mouse on Good Morning LaLa Land.
We are streaming to you live Monday through Friday on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Happy holidays.
It's gonna be a good
Morning, La La Land.
5, 6, 7, 8. We are the Mouseketeers, and we proudly wear our ears. We mousin', we mousin', MICKEYMOUSC Club Mickey Mouse. Good morning, La La Land.
That was so much fun with Drew.
Loved
Learned
Drew.
a lot, laughed a lot.
Taking notes on Drew.
Absolutely. And so glad you're feeling so
Oh
much
my
better,
gosh, how
Erin.
sick was I? I mean, you guys didn't realize, but I'd come in each day, whenever that whole week, and I was like, it was like I just like turned it on, but the minute I was out of here, I was a disaster, like back and crawling back to bed every day.
As long as I've known you, you've very rarely, if ever, been sick.
I rarely get
So I
sick,
know.
or I'll get better right away, like a couple days I'm back, but that was intense,
Yeah. Well, you always look beautiful, so I don't know about that.
Well, we had a good time with Drew.
right?
Oh my gosh.
So
Funny guy.
I do want to just disclose, you guys, that any financial advice, anything we've talked about, we are not financial advisors. We highly recommend that you get your own financial advice from somebody who understands
all of it.
all of it.
Not just your Uber driver with a Coinbase app on Bitcoin.
Enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what wealth means to you guys, because as a doctor of divinity, you know, we talk about wealth a lot, and knowing that our birthright is abundance. Our birthright is basically, we teach that to the extent to which we innovate in mind, that all possibility, all abundance, all prosperity is always there. Like prayers are answered right now. Anything that we desire, that abundance is really the quality of your relationships, the quality of your health, the quality of your ability to bring value and be valuable.
Don't talk sexy, Dr. Erin. Don't talk sexy. Sexy words. I agree with you. I mean, that's my experience too. I mean, for me, wealth is that which cannot be given and cannot be taken away. That's how I feel. If I can give it away, or if somebody can give it to me, I don't consider it real wealth.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I think for me, and looking forward to this next year, it's about investing in my relationships, my friendships, my family, personal relationships, and really just fostering that and building that wealth.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
love, peace,
Right?
happiness. I mean, that to me, honestly, is the greatest wealth ever.
I'd also like to build my Coinbase.
That's always nice. Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm certainly working on a budget for
Okay.
that.
So I'll never forget one time I went to Agape, and Michael Beckwith had talked about consciousness, and that basically wealth is a consciousness. And I love the story that he used, because I completely agree. He used the analogy of somebody who has to steal their wealth, or someone who wins the lottery, right? We know that lottery winners, majority of people, 6 months after they've won the lottery, they go back
Yes.
to, it's a relationship with money. So the
Yes.
people that win a bunch of money, they lose it anyway. They can't manage it, right?
Yes.
So whether you
Ooh, yeah.
win in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, the reality is that if you don't know what to do with it, if you don't know how to manage it, if you don't know how to have a good relationship with it, you can win the lottery.
Oh
It's
my
not
gosh.
going to stick around. So Michael Beckwith used the analogy of somebody has to steal a car, right? When they steal a car, because they can't actually have the mindset and the skill sets to get that, to have the consciousness to get the car, they have to go steal it. They can't keep it. They have to. They can't keep that car. The cops will eventually find where that car is, right?
Yeah.
They can't keep it, so they have to keep trying to get it, but they can't actually have it.
Wow, I love that. It's like, imagine a professional athlete or someone who's not a professional athlete getting an opportunity to play in the big leagues. They can get there, you get there, but once you're there, you're not going to stay on the team because you're not able to compete with everybody else. 'Cause you
So
don't have
how
the
do I
mindset,
keep the
skill
coin
set.
in the wallet? I mean, no, but
That's
really,
the
like,
question.
how do I change that mindset?
That's where the work is.
Yeah, I mean, that's having skill sets and having relationships and having the understanding of whatever your industry is, whether you're in a Bitcoin or whatever, understanding that market fully and knowing that there's risk involved and when are those risks more or less and what's going on with that. If you're in the industry of, building a television show, you need to understand your industry.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think a huge part of it, of course, is just the actual tactical ability to manage your money or to do what you do well in whatever industry you're in. The other piece of it, and I think you spoke to that too, is the ability, for me at least, to feel deeply, immovably, unshakably confident in my wealth mindset. So I feel deeply.
That sounds beautiful.
Yes, it does, right? It does. But it's interesting because I know that for so much of my life, I had money. I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of money. Even though I did, I didn't feel that wealthy. Other times I didn't have any money at all. And I felt like I was living this abundant life. So
That's so interesting because I'm really trying to get out of the mindset of I'm poor to even reframing that of saying oh, that's not currently in my budget. So with the mindset that hopefully my budget will be expanding and that those are things that I can add to my budget.
I love
but
that.
I still even feel like the word budget is so limiting because I don't want to just be surviving within a budget for myself. I want to be thriving, and I don't know how to wrap my mind around that.
So part of what we do with clients, and what is as they say in truth in the universe, an axiom, which means that it's like a truth, it is a law, is that the more it's all a relationship. So if you don't understand money, what is the path to understanding it and having more power over it, if you will, is understanding it. So you look at it, you feel it, you touch it, you understand as much as you can around it. So most people that don't understand wealth or just, it's like they get the heebie-jeebies when you talk about money, it's because they're not willing to look at it. They're like, well, I don't understand it, therefore I'm not going to look at it. So the more you educate yourself, the more you understand it, the more you look at it from a perspective of your subconscious, from the perspective of what you believe, the programming that your parents and the culture, and you've told yourself the power of your word, that's how you begin to just look at it without having to have it be, put it into something, just being able to understand it fully.
Yeah, I love that. And that's just so powerful, Erin. And for me, I had to start in an even simpler place, which was to look at all the ways I was steeped in abundance already and in forms of abundance that I couldn't buy even if I had unlimited money, right? So health, for instance, that to me is a real source of, I can't buy that. No matter how, much money I have, I cannot buy health. I cannot buy the ability to pivot my mind to focus on positive things in my life or to focus on the best of my life. I can't buy creativity. I can't buy an ability to access this deep feeling of peace and well-being and love. Like that to me is a wealth that nobody can touch. They can't touch that. They can't give it to me. I can't buy it. So as soon as I got my mind around that and redefined wealth in terms of this immovable, unshakable sense of peace and well-being and confidence on the inside, I began to find that it was showing up on the outside so much more quickly and easily. And it sounds woo-woo, but that's actually been my experience.
It's so LaLa.
It's so LA. It's so LA, but it's just, it's true though.
Count me in.
Yeah. And you're doing that already, Jesslyn.
Right.
All the time. Yeah, you show up here every single day and you're happy, you're excited, you're full of confidence.
Yeah.
Those Bitcoins are just going
Bitcoin's
up.
stock is just rising, girl. It's all
A lot
just
of
rising.
a lot of it's letting go of the limiting beliefs, and a lot of it is trauma or decisions we made early on. Like a lot of people working with them subconsciously, they will begin to realize like the decisions they made around money. like, oh, money's only for greedy people. Money is the root of all evil. Money's hard. You got to really work for it, right? All those things that we decided about money. So letting go of that limiting story and beginning to create a new story for
it's
yourself.
lovely.
So you're already doing it. You're already transitioning from I'm broke to it's not my budget. So now you can transition that to
I
even
love that.
a different story.
It's telling a better feeling story around money. You know, like I'm making my way into increasing sums of money. Just simple ways to, but it has to be an energetic shift on the inside because you can say a lot of words, but if they don't resonate with you deeply on the inside, you won't walk around feeling confident and feeling abundant.
That's such a beautiful thing to say, but until there's actually like coins in that wallet, though,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to walk and to believe on.
But
It
that's
is, but that's what
faith,
Erin's
That's
done,
faith,
though.
right?
Erin's
Like if
done
we're
that.
always looking to the outside world, and then I'll know that I'm worth, how it's never going to happen.
And that's also, and it's such a great point you bring up,
Transient.
Jessalyn. That's also the challenge is because, so in both of our practices, I know in my practice, I've got people that are loaded on the outside. Their pockets are full of money, but their heart is just full of sadness and tears. And that's because they've not gotten their head around this unconditional kind of peace and well-being and what I would call wealth.
Right.
It's a very conditional kind of success they're experiencing.
We're out of time.
We're out of time, man.
Yeah.
Just get me
Hashtag
turned up and
Wealth
then.
Wednesday.
Right?
Yeah.
So good. So
To be
you
continued.
guys, Wednesdays, stay tuned every Wednesday. I'm learning a lot on these
Yeah.
Wednesdays. I like this.
too.
I like Wednesdays and Fridays might be my favorite days out of the week.
I
So
know, man.
So tomorrow is all
Yes.
about Thought Thursday, Thursday Thoughts. And so who do we have on tomorrow?
We've got some really interesting guests. We've got Maria Felipe. She is a New World Library author of Live Your Happy. That's the same publishing company I'm with. Love them. And she's done all kinds of things in her life. She's been a host. She's been an actress. She was the first Latina female boxing
And a
announcer.
minister.
Wow.
Minister.
Right? I'm
Yeah.
going to
Girlfriend
vibe with
wears a
this
lot
girl
of hats.
tomorrow, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we've got her.
We've invited Zach to the studio from Catch, so
Zach.
we want to feature him and celebrate what he's doing in LA, and maybe even our good friend Ken from the LaCourte Report.
Okay, good.
Oh.
So take us on out, Jessalyn.
Every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., we are streaming to you live as America's first daily lifestyle streaming talk show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and
Twitter
Twitter.
now.
That's right. It's going to be a good morning, La La Land.